A 40-year-old married woman and her 20-something subordinate are in the middle of an illicit encounter. But just as her jeans slip halfway down, the downstairs door slams. Her husband is back. Sophie scrambles to signal the boy to hide, rushing to intercept her husband. But he's already through the door. Max freezes in the kitchen, caught dead in his tracks. Thinking fast, Sophie says he's there to fix the dishwasher. Her husband doesn't suspect a thing, because it just so happens that the dishwasher is really broken. Watching the woman he loves kissing her husband tears Max's heart out, but he has to endure it, and meals to dig out the clog in their pipes. Sophie is filled with guilt, unsure whether it's right or wrong. A week ago, Sophie and Max were on a business trip to a book fair, along with the rest of the publishing team. Even though they had a crush on each other and their hotel rooms were right across the hall, they both tried their best to keep things professional. The next day, during a team lunch, two coworkers got into a loud argument, leaving everyone awkward and quiet. So Sophie leaned in close to Max and whispered a challenge. "Liven up this luncheon." Max thought for a second, then slipped into the kitchen, found the desserts for their table, and mixes some kind of powder into it. Afterwards, he quietly warned Sophie not to eat the dessert. The others had no idea. Everyone thought the desserts tasted better than usual, especially the director, who ended up polishing off Sophie's untouched slice. At the press conference, the director and head of sales solemnly announced that the publisher is entering into a collaboration with Stream as the biggest streaming platform in the industry. But after just a few lines, they're suddenly overheating, babbling nonsense and laughing like they've lost their minds. Such clownish behavior confused all the journalists and investors. Seeing the situation, Max blasted loud feedback from the speakers to cut them off. But the damage was already done. The president of StreamUs was so pissed off that she left on the spot. After learning that Max had put weed in the desserts, Sophie exploded, accusing him of being reckless and short-sighted. But the guilt only lasted a few minutes between the two of them. Her husband was calling over nonsense. The office wouldn't stop blowing up her phone. Sophie couldn't catch a single break. So Sophie took Max to the swimming pool to get some relaxation. But just being in the water couldn't cool the chaos inside her. So she stopped repressing herself, stripped bare, running through the pool in a wild burst of freedom. With her mind finally at ease, Sophie let go of all her ethics and gave in to her desires. For one reckless night with Max. In Max's eyes, this wasn't just a fling. It was the beginning of something real. Unfortunately, the fallout from the book fair fiasco was far from over. StreamUs had lost faith. Their president issued a harsh ultimatum: produce a chart-topping book within 3 weeks, or the acquisition was off. Meanwhile, several of their authors were considering jumping ship, refusing to become puppets for a streaming empire. They wanted to protect literature from being turned into tech trash. All of this put the publishing house in a crisis it had never faced before. Looking at her devastated boss, Sophie felt so guilty that she decided to leave the romance behind and go home to work. Max was worried when he didn't see Sophie at work. During his lunch break, he went to Sophie's home to find out what was going on. Sophie tried to resist the affair mentally, but emotionally, she couldn't do it at all. Which brings us back to the scene we saw at the very beginning. Max crouches by the dishwasher, forced to watch Sophie's husband kiss her, casual, as if no one else exists. The young boy can't help but get teary-eyed. When the dishwasher finally starts running, her husband slips him a few bills. The humiliation is sharp, yet Max can't do anything about him but takes it all out on a punching bag. At night, as Sophie can't settle either, she hides in the restroom to call Max's phone. Max isn't in the mood to answer. Over the next few days, he keeps his distance from her. But the Cold War doesn't last. In the break room, when Sophie apologizes with tears in her eyes and says she's not feeling well either, he can't hold back and kisses her. After work, Max takes her back to the tiny apartment he shares with 3 roommates. With no one around, they give in completely. They kiss, hold each other close, and let everything overflow. For the first time, Sophie gets a glimpse into who Max really is beneath the surface. Max tells her that his parents divorced when he was still a child, and he's been living with his mother ever since. But she never liked him much, always showing more affection to his 2 younger brothers. After she remarried, she became even more distant. So eventually, he left his hometown in the countryside and moved to the city, trying to make it on his own. Maybe it's the lack of a mother's love growing up that makes Max gravitate toward older women. Hearing his story, Sophie feels a deep ache for him. Just as she reaches out to comfort him, her phone rings. It turns out that her father has been involuntarily committed to a psychiatric ward. Sophie panics and rushes home. Her daughter Isabel becomes depressed when she learns of her grandfather's admittance, and even loses her appetite completely, because Isabel thinks it's her fault. Despite her top grades and stellar academic record, Isabel's teacher isn't satisfied. She notices that Isabel rarely talks to her classmates, spending most of her time alone with books. She recommends that Isabel work on her social skills. In fact, Isabel isn't afraid of socializing. She just finds what her classmates are doing to be boring. Isabel doesn't care for phones or social media, but she's never tried to stop anyone else from enjoying them. And yet, people still seem to take issue with how quietly she keeps to herself. Sophie respects her daughter's nature and doesn't push her to change. Her grandfather encourages her too, urging her to stay true to herself and never become a slave to capitalism. But to her father, that kind of thinking is downright dangerous. Just the day before, Isabel had her 12th birthday. Without asking her, her father threw a big party and invited everyone, saying it was good for her to socialize. At first hesitant, Isabel eventually gave in to the festive mood and joined her classmates on the dance floor. However, Grandpa completely lost his temper at the sight. He scolded her for acting like someone she wasn't, and lashed out at everyone there, accusing them of being brainwashed by consumerism and capitalism. Her father snapped, calling the old man a rambling anarchist hiding behind moral superiority. Grandpa marched into the streets to protest, only to be arrested and forced into psychiatric care. Isabel is worried about Grandpa and wants to visit him in the hospital, but her father flat out refuses, calling him a lunatic with dangerous ideas. Isabel is devastated. Two opposing beliefs crash against each other in her mind, and she no longer knows who to trust. Sophie comforts her daughter, telling her to give herself time, that things will get better as she grows older. To explain, she turns to the language of plants.
Det är som först är man ett frö, sen en blåklocka, sen en ros, ett träd. Sen när man är en hel skog, då står man stadigt.
This metaphor gives Sophie a small but steady strength to remain herself. Her father doesn't see it that way. He mocks Sophie's words as nonsense, warning her not to fill the child's head with poetic garbage. That's when Sophie reaches her limit. To make her daughter feel better, she takes her daughter to the hospital to see her grandfather, without her husband's knowledge. With a sick father, a confused daughter, a dictatorial husband, and a saddened self, Sophie is too emotionally broken to show it in front of others, and can only hide in the toilet and cry. Meanwhile, Max's situation is no better than hers. Well, this day is his stepfather's 50th birthday. Max didn't want to come back, but his mom kept calling and urging him to come to the party, so he compromised. His brothers gossiped and asked if he had a girlfriend. Max proudly flipped through Sophie's pictures on his phone and showed them off to his brothers. But his mother thought Sophie was too old, especially when she saw the ring on Sophie's hand. His mother knew the woman had been married. She warned Max not to tell anyone. If you don't mind being ashamed, I do. As the birthday party was about to begin, his two playful brothers accidentally broke a glass on the floor. His mother completely refused to listen to Max's explanation and scolded him for being a bad boy. Max kneels down to clean up the broken glass and cuts his finger. But his mother and stepfather don't care. They just tell him to get out of the way. Sullenly, Max stays alone in his room, staring at a home that doesn't belong to him. When he is melancholy, his mother suddenly walks up the stairs and calls him to go to the group photo. Max asks his mother, "If you don't like me, why did you ask me to come back?" The mother replies to him as if he were a fool. If you didn't show up, the neighbors would start gossiping. It hits Max. She didn't ask him back out of care, only to save face. And with that, whatever hope he had left for this family vanishes. When it's time for the group photo, Max charges in completely naked. In front of the stunned crowd, he shows no shame, posing for photos and proudly announcing himself as the toy boy of a married older woman. His mother and stepfather freeze, speechless, their shame plain as day. After hugging everyone goodbye, Max walks out without a trace of regret. Then he boarded the bus back to Stockholm. Unlike the countryside, which had brought him so much unhappiness, there is someone in the city who loves him. But what he doesn't know is that Sophie's about to leave him. John is furious when he finds out Sophie took their daughter to see that old psychopath. He snaps, "I could care less if you do something out of the ordinary." But my line is this: our kids are not to be exposed to poisonous ideas, or they'll grow up just as miserable as you did. The words hit Sophie like a slap. With a mentally ill father, Sophie lived amongst a group of abnormal people as a child and suffered from being out of place in the world. So when she grew up, Sophie was determined not to follow in her father's footsteps. To fit in, she endures a dull and colorless life. She puts up with a controlling husband, day after day. It isn't until Max, brimming with untamed vitality, steps into her life that something long buried stirs within her. Something that makes her feel truly alive again. But this affair, with a much younger man, and outside her marriage, threatens to destroy the careful life she's built. It risks dragging her children into the wreckage. She can't afford to be selfish, not now. In order to eliminate the children's chances of getting close to their insane grandpa, John proposes that the family move to London. Sophie agrees, terrified that her kids might grow up burdened like she once was. The next day, Sophie returns to the publishing house, hands her strategic plan to the boss, and calmly announces her resignation. She's moving to London. When Max hears the news, it hits him like a freight train. He's always believed they were on the same page, walking the same path, wanting the same future. He never imagined Sophie would abandon him so coldly. On a rooftop, Sophie gives him no room to plead, no soft lies to ease the blow. What we had was nothing but a childish game. It meant nothing to me. And to make sure he finally lets go, she pulls out the lipstick, their shared token, and hurls it into the distance, cutting off the last thread between them. Max stumbles back into the office in despair. His chest tightens, breath escapes him, and before anyone can react, he collapses to the ground. Back in her so-called normal life, Sophie doesn't feel relieved, only more stifled than ever. Her thoughts drift constantly. Nothing seems to go right. Unable to carry the weight any longer, she visits the psychiatric hospital and confronts her father. She blames him for the chaos he brought into her childhood, and swears she doesn't want to end up like him, passing only sorrow and trouble down to her children. Her father offers a rare apology, but he also urges her to stop living by the rules that were never made for people like them. The only thing you have to do is to be yourself. You've grown into a forest of unique strengths. His words linger in Sophie's mind, stirring something long buried. During a spa day with her husband's friends, Sophie can't focus at all. But her husband is oblivious, relentlessly spouting off about how Sophie's job is meaningless to the economy growth. He blames her father's instability for all the drama in their lives, even claiming it's affected her own mental state. "I'll find you a therapist in London. You won't need to work anymore. Just focus on yourself and the kids." In that moment, Sophie finally sees the truth. These so-called normal people are the real poison. She explodes, swearing she'll never again be anyone's gilded bird in a cage. She walks out in nothing but a robe, head held high, parading through the city streets. Her long-suppressed emotions and true self finally break free. Later, she walks into the publishing house and delivers a presentation to the investors. She tells them bluntly, "You can't reduce a company or a human being to numbers and metrics." The president of Streamhuz gets so pissed off that she revokes the acquisition on the spot, yelling that she'll never get involved in this disgusting, obnoxious publishing industry again. Thus, the company has preserved its soul, but once again it's on the brink of financial ruin. And yet, just as things seem most hopeless, it's literature, the thing everyone dismissed, that saves them. While picking up papers scattered across the floor, the boss notices a manuscript that instantly grabs his attention. It turns out to be from an unknown writer who submitted it days earlier. They were too busy with the acquisition to read it, but now it feels like fate. If this story is published, it could be the hit they desperately need. Maybe even the publisher's crisis will be solved. On the same rooftop where Sophie and Max once fell apart, they now find themselves reunited. They don't have all the answers, and the future still looks uncertain. But they know one thing for sure: they can't live a life that betrays who they really are. Because in the end, life is too short to live for anyone else. This is Maroon Recap. Check out my homepage, and you'll see more recaps of Love and Anarchy. I'm hastening to write and edit the next recap, so feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.